Alright guys, today we're going to talk about the process of turning a salvage title into a rebuilt title. There's a lot of videos on YouTube about it, but I was still very uncertain of the process after watching quite a few of them. This is the very first time that I have ever done a salvage title, turning a salvage title into a rebuilt title. Now, there are a lot of videos on YouTube about this, but they're not very detailed and they omit a lot of information, at least in my eyes. I definitely did not feel comfortable going into the process. There were a lot of unknowns that I was concerned about. And this was my first time ever doing a salvage title to a rebuilt title. So I just felt like there was too many things that I didn't know, and I went to multiple resources to try to get all the information, and I was still very uncertain of how this works. So I wanted to make a detailed video of the process and the things you need to look for that I just could not find. So there are various papers that you're going to have. Now, I live in the state of Georgia, so other states may be slightly different. But in the state of Georgia, this is what you're going to need. Okay, so I'm going to try to leave no stone unturned here. So I'm going to bounce back and forth between the Department of Revenue DMV website. It's dor.georgia.gov/titles. You'll have to probably start out at dor.georgia.gov and go from there. Anyway, I'm going to be reading off of their website and also off of my notes because there are some differences that I experienced. So it says a salvage title must go through a rebuild inspection process before a rebuilt title can be issued on vehicles that require titles. This is the whole reason we're doing this, is we have a salvage title and you cannot drive a salvage title vehicle. No one can. In fact, in order to get the inspection, even as a dealer with a dealer tag, legally you are not supposed to put a dealer tag on a salvage title vehicle and drive it to the inspection. You are supposed to tow the vehicle to the inspection station and after it's inspected, then you're supposed to go get the rebuilt title for it. Now, with that being said, I don't think anybody towed their vehicle up there. I didn't see anybody towing theirs. So that's going to be on your personal preference, and also it's probably going to depend on how picky your inspector is. Because if they know that you dropped the vehicle off without towing it in and they're by the book, then they're probably not going to inspect the vehicle for you. So moving on, this says to obtain a rebuilt title, you have to be a licensed rebuilder. Anyone who purchases a salvage or wrecked vehicle for the purpose of restoring or rebuilding must be a licensed rebuilder. This is directly on the Georgia's DMV .gov website. Now, I will tell you, I am a licensed auto broker or used car dealer, and as a licensed used car dealer, you are allowed to rebuild 2 cars a year. They're not stating that on this website, but you are. Now, when I bought this particular vehicle, I didn't have my license yet. So the title was unfortunately in my personal name. And I say unfortunately because since it was in my personal name, I can't use my license. Now, they didn't give me any flack whatsoever about being just a regular Joe Schmo because, like I said, I can't use my license. It's in my name. They didn't give me any flack at all. They did the inspection. I took all the paperwork to the state of Georgia, and I got a title. And it was put into my personal name because it was before I had my license. So even though this says you must be a licensed rebuilder, that's not true. So just a regular Joe Blow off the street can get a salvage title turned into a rebuilt title. I'm not the only one that's done it. I've heard multiple stories of other people doing it. The downside of doing that is you, of course, now are going to have to pay the TAF tax. And I'll tell you a little trick too that a lot of people don't know is when you go to the state of Georgia to get your registration, you're going to get the registration and that's it. And they're not going to tell you before you go that that's all you're going to get. So if it's in your personal name and you're not doing this as a licensed rebuilder or a licensed used car dealer, now you're going to have to leave there and go to your local tag office wherever you're at. So let's say, there's only one place in the state of Georgia that you can get this done, this rebuilt title switched over, and that's at their main office on Welcome Mall Road in Atlanta. So let's say you live down in Savannah, Georgia. You have to go all the way up to Atlanta to get this stuff done. And now you got to drive all the way back to Savannah to pay the TAF tax before they'll give you a title. Now, you don't have to do all this at one time. You can drive home and pay them and wait for it in the mail. You can do that. So you drive home, you pay the TAF tax, and you wait for the title to come in the mail. Or you can step outside, or some of them, if they're not busy, will allow you to step to the side. Call your county, pay the TAF tax over the phone. Most of them will allow you to do that. And then while you're still there, you can get your title and tag and everything straightened out while you're downtown. If you're not in a hurry, then none of that matters to you. Anyway, let's move on. So this says you must be a licensed rebuilder. We've just learned that's not true. You have to pass inspection. Obviously, that is true. When a vehicle is restored, but before it is painted, keywords, before it is painted, you cannot paint whatever parts you put on the vehicle. If your car is black and you have to put a red fender on it, you cannot paint that red fender until you go through this inspection process. And that goes for any parts that you put on there. If they're bare metal, I'm sure they will allow you to put a primer on them, but you cannot paint them. When the vehicle is restored, but before it is painted, it must pass inspection by one of the department's approved private inspectors or stations. There's only so many places that are approved to do these inspections. And some of them are way backed up. The one I went to was located in Forest Park or Lake City, whichever one they're considering that. And they are extremely backed up. This process took probably 2 or 3 weeks to get the appointment. Now, once you get the appointment, you drop the car off the day before they're going to inspect it, and you'll get the day they inspect it, you have to come pick the car back up by 5 p.m. So that's how the inspection process goes. To apply for rebuilt title and vehicle inspection, submit the following to one of the department-approved private inspectors or stations. Now, this is the stuff that you have to bring with you in order to get the inspection. So it says 1 or more photographs of the vehicle in its salvage or wrecked condition before you've made any repairs. The place that inspected mine told me a minimum of 2 photos. George's website says 1, they said 2, I bought 3. Hey guys, if you want to be safe, do it right. If you over deliver, then you got nothing to worry about. You have to have a completed and signed Form MV1, which is a title and tag application. You can just go to their website. It's a clickable link. You can download it or print it right off the Georgia website and fill it out and bring it with you to the inspection. You're also going to have the original valid salvage title issued in your name or properly assigned to you. So obviously, if you just bought it from somebody in a salvage condition, you haven't got it put in your name yet. Most likely, I guess you could swap the title over in salvage condition, but I'm not sure why you would do that. So anyway, if you just bought it off of somebody, you have them properly sign it over to you on the title. You have to have a completed and signed Form T22R request for inspection of a rebuilt motor vehicle. This, I guess, is depending on what inspection station you take it to, because I did not have to have this. If you print it out and fill it out and you've got it anyway, I don't see the harm in that. But I did not have this. I called my inspection station. They probably got extremely irritated with me, but I wanted to make sure, since it took so long to get the appointment, that there was not one thing missing from my packet. So I called them multiple times and asked them multiple questions about what had to be delivered. We'll go down through that. Well, we're kind of going through it now. So this Form T22R, I did not need it. If you want to go ahead and print it out, fill it out, bring it with you, it's not going to hurt. In fact, I probably would do that. Okay, then you need to have a completed and signed Form T129, Labor and Parts Certification. Now, this form is going to state your legal name, where you got the vehicle repaired, the location of the parts vehicle. So if you used parts, they want to know where that vehicle is located at. Then further down, it has a checklist of where you mark off the parts that you replaced. This is totally up to you. I don't see any reason to lie here, and I wouldn't do it, because if they find out you didn't mark something on here that you did replace, it's probably not going to be good, and you're probably not going to get your inspection, probably not going to get your title. So just mark it off. If you didn't do it right and you don't want them to find it, then you probably should have done it right. Anyway, that's what this form is about. Labor and parts certification. Now we move into the receipt. Okay, we've got all of the state of Georgia forms that you're going to have, the MV1, the T22R. Like I said, I didn't have to have that, but anyway, so you got the MV1, the T22R, and the T129. Now we move down to receipts. Now you have to provide receipts for new or used parts used to restore or rebuild the vehicle, including part names and stock numbers. This is for new parts, and you have to have a receipt for all new parts. You have to show the vehicle owner or rebuilder as the purchaser of the parts. Rebuilder's name as shown on the parts receipt must be shown on the Form T129, the one we just went over. For used parts, show the part name and the vehicle identification number of the vehicle from which the part was taken. Parts vehicles must have a title on file with the department or submitted at the time of application. If the parts are from another state, provide a letter of certification from the other state. Now, here is where I thought I was going to have a big issue, because I'm trying to rebuild a salvage title vehicle. So early on, my thought was I'm going to go buy a parts vehicle, one that's obviously no good for the road, so that I can take all the parts off of it and put it onto this one. So the one in particular I bought was really cheap. Of course, that's what I was looking for because I needed a cheap vehicle that had all the parts I needed. Well, I found it, but they didn't have a title for it. I didn't think I needed one because all I wanted was the parts. Now, according to my inspection station and to the state of Georgia, they said that I was going to have a title for that vehicle. Now, you can go through the process of getting a bonded title, but that's going to add more expense to your bottom line. The inspection station, I talked to them multiple times, told them it was, just easy, parts like the hood and the fender, stuff like that, nothing serious. It was just, they weren't structural parts, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So they said, look, just bring a bill of sale up here with the VIN number and all that information on the bill of sale, and we'll submit it. And worst case scenario, all the inspection and everything will be over. And if the state requires you to have a title on that vehicle, then you'll have to do the bonded title at that time. So I used multiple, in fact I have a checklist here, I used multiple parts off of that parts vehicle. I used the hood, the radiator support, which actually is a structural part, the right fender, the front bumper, the grill, and I put a windshield in it, but that was a new windshield. So on my inspection paper, when they did the inspection, they wrote all these parts down, they wrote used, and they wrote the VIN beside it. So all that to say, if you already have a parts vehicle without a title, use it. Bring in a good bill of sale that has all the information. In fact, the best one to get is off of their website. Get one from the state of Georgia. It has all the required information on that bill of sale. So now, as far as buying parts online, they will not accept printed out receipts from eBay, Amazon, anything of that sort. You have to buy it. You have to buy the parts directly through a parts manufacturer that will send you an actual receipt. You cannot buy used parts online. They won't allow you. So if you're going to buy the parts online, they have to be new parts and you have to have receipts for them. They're real sticklers about where these parts come from. In fact, like I said, they put the VIN number on this paper of, where the hood came from, where the radiator support came from, the fender, the bumper, the grill. All of that says the VIN number of what vehicle that came from. So now we've went over all the receipts. The next thing is a copy of the rebuilder's license. Now, if you're a rebuilder, you provide a copy of your rebuilder's license. If you're a used car dealer, you provide a copy of your used car license, your used car dealer license. You get up to 2 a year on rebuilding. Now, if you're just a regular guy with no licenses, you provide your driver's license. That's what I did. I did this without a rebuilder's license, without a used car dealer license. I've submitted my driver's license, and that's exactly what my inspection station told me to do, and I had no issues whatsoever. So this is another place that's different from what it says on the Georgia DMV website, or I'm sorry, Georgia.gov website. Okay, so the next thing is $100 inspection fee for the inspection station. I don't think the state regulates this, because I did see a couple of inspection stations that was charging a little bit more, a little different price. So it wasn't huge. I think one of them was like $120. But just so you know, it's my inspection was $100. Most inspection stations were, but I did see one or two that was $120, and that may have been a fluke. It may have been a wrong price on their website. I don't know, but just be aware of that. Inspection is normally $100 as stated on the Georgia website. Okay, all above items must be available at the inspection. The vehicle must be towed, not driven to the inspection site. We already talked about that. Once the vehicle passes inspection, all of the above paperwork along with the inspector's report and registration must be submitted to the state at Welcome All Road, like I was talking about. Now, you can mail it in if you're not in a hurry. You don't have to drive to Welcome All Road. It must be submitted with $118 made payable to the Department of Revenue, which is an $18 title fee and a $100 state inspection fee, even though the state's not inspecting anything except for your paperwork. Okay. Vehicles must go through the rebuilt process if it's branded salvage in the state of Georgia, or if it's an out-of-state branded title, such as salvage, flood, water, fire, or total loss. Okay, so that's all the state puts on the website. Now, I want to go over this with you. Okay, so what does the inspection entail? What are they looking for? What are they going to look at? It's almost all 100% safety items. Now, of course, they're going to be looking to see if your frame is bent, or if you have any bent, broken, damaged, or missing suspension parts, anything like that. I will tell you, I personally know somebody that went through this inspection that did have a bent frame and passed. Now, I don't know if they didn't properly inspect it or they just didn't think it was that big a deal. I don't know. They're not supposed to pass a bent frame. It's not supposed to be on the road. But they passed it. So wheels and tires is one of the main things they're going to look at. They actually have a checklist on the receipt that you'll receive after your inspection that shows the checklist of the things that they checked and pass or fail. So wheels and tires are one of them. All of your lights, headlights, tail lights, turn lights, emergency flashers, backup lights. They're going to check all of those. All of those. Do yourself a favor, check them yourself before you go in and make sure that all your bulbs are good and they're all flashing, because you'd hate to fail an inspection over a stinking bulb or a fuse or something. Same thing with your wheels and tires. All these items, check them before you go in. Make sure they hold, make sure your tires hold air, make sure the wheels are not rusted through or something. You have to check all these items. Your horn, make sure your horn works. The windshield, they're going to inspect the windshield and, believe it or not, your wipers. So make sure all that's good before you go in. The lights on the dash, they will not pass you at all if you have any lights on your dash, as far as check engine, ABS, any of that stuff. No lights on the dash. And you need to check it. You can even go to AutoZone and do it for free. You need to check it with a scan tool, because it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have any codes in the computer if there's no lights on the dash. So you need to make sure there's no code stored in the computer. Now, I don't know if they do a system readiness check. I would imagine they do. And what that means is, after you delete codes, you have to drive the vehicle for 40 miles before it's quote unquote ready for a test. That means you've drove it far enough that if another light or code was going to come on, that it's popped by then. And they don't always pop within 40 miles, but that's the standard. Okay, the next thing is, like I said, no frame, control arm damage, any suspension damage. Exhaust, they're going to inspect your exhaust. They're going to inspect your brakes. I doubt they go as far as checking the brake pads and how much you have left on the pads, but ABS, they're going to test your ABS. They're going to look in the computer, see if there's any ABS codes stored. Your seat belts, they're going to test all your seat belts, and they're going to test all your mirrors. So make sure, if you just replaced the windshield, make sure you've put the rear view mirror back on there, because you're not going to pass inspection without it. with a vehicle without a title, it's possible that you may have to obtain a title of vehicle for parts. If you fail inspection, then you can bring it back within 90 days for a $50 fee. So if you fail inspection and you bring it back within $90, it's free. Anything after that is an additional $50 fee. Okay, so I hope this helps y'all. I know it's a lot of information. Really need to watch the video with pen and paper in hand to make sure you write all this stuff down and know what you're getting yourself into. The inspection station, just a quick overall rundown of everything you're going to need to bring with you. You've already heard the detailed breakdown, but the quick rundown of everything that you're going to need to bring with you to the inspection station is a Form T-129, a Form MV1. According to the state, you need a Form T-22R. Like I said, I didn't need that, but that doesn't mean you won't, so might as well go ahead and print it out, fill it out, bring it with you. No harm done. So you'll need a Form T-129, a Form T-22R, a Form MV1. If you have a Form MV46, which is for a bonded title, for like your parts, vehicle, or whatever, then you need to submit that as well. You watch the video. You don't have to have that bonded title, or at least I didn't, and it's very possible that you won't either. Then you will also need your receipts for the vehicle. And when I say receipts, I mean every single thing you did to that vehicle that they're going to notice that has anything to do with going from a salvage title to a rebuilt title. You're going to need all those receipts. Now, what I mean by that is, if it's wrecked in the front end and you had to put a right rear tire on it, they're not going to notice that. That wasn't part of why it was a salvage title. You don't have to submit that receipt. Anything that was involved with the salvage title to rebuilt title, anything that brings it up to par for the inspection, is the receipts you need to submit. Again, no eBay receipts, no Amazon receipts. They will not accept them. If you're using the used vehicle, then make sure you've wrote all the parts down that you used and the VIN number for the vehicle that it came off of. You'll also need $100. Ours had to be in cash, $100 in cash for the inspection. You'll need the salvage title of the vehicle, the original. You need to bring that with you with all this other documentation. Pictures. I recommend a minimum of 2 pictures of the vehicle in its wrecked condition before you ever touched it. This is why it's a salvage title. This is before you've done any work to it to turn it into a rebuilt title. Your license, whether it be a rebuilder license, a dealer's license, or just a regular driver's license. Okay, that's it. Form T-129, a Form T-22R, Form MV1, your receipts, $100 for the inspection, salvage title, 2 pictures, and a copy of your license. And that's it. I've ran down what they're going to look for, and that's really it, guys. I mean, I was so worried about this because it was the first time I had ever done it. I ran down there and dropped mine off, and man, it was like there was no problem at all. I mean, it just went so smooth. I was worried about nothing. And as long as you follow the proper procedures, like we've laid out today, then you won't have any problems either. I was very stressed about it, and it was nowhere near as stressful as I expected it to be. It was really a smooth process. So just follow the proper procedure and you'll have a smooth process as well. So that's it for today. That's how to turn a salvage title into a rebuilt title. I hope this helps somebody out there. This is the entire process of getting a salvage title turned into a rebuilt title, most specifically in the state of Georgia. Some other states may be different. I'm not sure, but I'm sure that every bit of this will relate to another state if you live in another state. With all that being said, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave us some comments down below. Do you have a salvage title? What's the story with it? And let me know if y'all had a smooth process getting your title.